And what is going on, everybody? Nope, there's no music this time. There is no intro. We're doing it old school WWF style. This is the Guest Net Podcast. Darnell Snow, Antoine, SMWOTH. You all right over there?
Oh yeah, I'm good, man. I'm real good, man. Just chilling on this Saturday. That's all.
I feel you. I feel you. So they're probably gonna ask, man, why you ain't where the music was at? Well, I'm not in a position to do music today because I'm doing this show in a different location. I'm actually sitting in a sauna. And I said, while I'm in here, I said, no, man, we just gonna go live. It's Freestyle Saturday, meaning we don't have a topic. We just gonna talk about what's on our minds. It's definitely gonna be wrestling related, but definitely gonna be, just talking. We can talk about, what's going on in the business, what's not going on. What grinds your gears about pro wrestling. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about. So you ready for that?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Right on. But first, gotta give a shout out to the boss, man. Oh, Wesley McRoberts doing his thing at the toy stop out there in Mount Carmel, Illinois. Again, thank everybody who listens to the podcast, who's sharing the podcast. Got some compliments about the show. I want to say one lady said she was looking to just listen to Jerry Lawler's podcast, and we were the first name popped up talking about it. So I thought that was dope right there, and she had other people listening to it. So I definitely appreciate that. But let's get into it. I'm gonna tell you what was on my mind, and you probably gonna roll with me on this because you've seen it just like I have. I got to get on the wrestling fans for a minute because I know me and you talked about this many times, and we've seen it, and they do it everywhere. But wrestling fans, understand this: you don't have to woo at every wrestling show you go to. Stop that!
Oh my God!
Stop doing that. We could be in a drive-through show. Somebody won. We could be with 3 people in the building. Somebody won. We could be in a whole nother promotion. And Ripley upon never resident, and they won. I don't know who started that, but whoever started that, you need to stop. I beg
you know what the worst part is, Darnell? You know what the worst part is? They don't even know where they came from.
Right.
Some of them don't. They just woo just to do it. Yeah, Ric Flair. But see, the thing about that is, we grew up watching Ric Flair. We know the woo. We knew that before they even knew.
No, I say just one person that woos, and everybody want a copycat. I don't get it. And they'll do it. It could be 12 hours before the show. One person in the building, they won.
That's crazy, man.
Oh, and another thing I'm gonna stay on the fans for a minute. Then they probably
please do.
But we got to be real. I remember, and this was a while ago, and I remember going to a WWE show. I believe it was a SmackDown show when they were still doing separate shows. It was in Biloxi, Mississippi, at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Coliseum. And I remember so much. I remember Chuck Palumbo. This when he was doing the motorbike gimmick. He was just riding around his motorbike. See, that's how long ago it was.
Oh yeah,
his motorbike just all around the Coliseum. And everybody's sitting outside waiting to get in, and there's always 2 people. For some reason, if I want to get, there'll be the 2, but they're normally in the front or they're normally in the middle. All of a sudden want to start cutting promos, and what's bad about that, they don't even know how to do it.
Right.
Who started that?
I don't know, man, because hey, I got one that's even better than worse than what you said.
Go
Check this one out. All right, we went, I think it was a Raw show when it was down here in Memphis at the FedEx Forum.
Right.
And me and some friends were sitting there. We were watching. You was over there, of course, with your son.
Right.
And this guy was behind us, and he commentated the entire show.
I could believe that. And you know what he probably was doing? He probably was streaming it.
No, he wasn't streaming it. That's what he did. He wasn't streaming it. What he did, he was literally doing the whole match while we was back there. I mean, every match. that come out. He commentated on it.
Like
no stream.
Like you can't see it.
Yeah. Right.
And again, and you could tell. Now, a lot of people use the term wrestling marks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what wrestling mark mean. I know what wrestling mark mean.
Mm-hmm.
But some people, you know when you go to a wrestling show, you know the marks when you see them.
Right.
You look at them, and some of them, I ain't trying to be rude, I ain't trying to be funny, but you could tell the ones that still live at home, but still live at home in the basement.
Right.
And that's all they do.
Get on the computer and sit there and talk about certain wrestlers and this and that, but yet they'll come up in front of them and shake their hand.
Right. And be trying to hug up on them and trying to get autographs and try to sell the stuff on eBay.
Right.
I mean, what happened to the old school fans?
Yeah, I'm talking about where the heels were heels, they cheered the baby faces and booed the heels.
And that's another. I'm glad you brought that up. And you see, Get Snap Galaxy. You see, we rolling today. I tell you, this is Freestyle Saturday. There's no notes. We just talking. We it's like we sitting how we used to sit in Hooters.
Mm-hmm.
In Hooters, get the chicken wings, have some beers, and we just go.
We just go. That's right.
Yes, and yes, we are picking on the fans because some of these fans amaze me. Now the fan that I do like, especially during WrestleMania weekend. I said, you've been a couple WrestleManias, I've been a couple WrestleManias, but that right prior to the show, they always had a little pre-show party. You're hanging out the arenas or the domes or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ones who go all out. When they dress the gear, they go all out. I remember they had a guy. Excuse me, when I say he nailed Macho Man, but he had.
Is that what you thinking? What I'm thinking?
No, this guy he had he had the loud color version, but back when Macho King was just started wearing the tassels and the cowboy hats.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, this was New Orleans for me. I mean, he nailed it. I mean, he did the whole game. I thought that was him.
Man, I tell you, and another one, I saw, I know what you was talking about. I think I remember. Was it last year's WrestleMania or a couple of years ago?
Yeah, in New Orleans?
Mm-hmm.
In WrestleMania 34?
34, yeah. And I saw another Macho Man, but he dressed up like the 80s Savage with the tights. All he had on was the cape and the tights and the boots.
30. I remember that, dude. I believe that WrestleMania 30. I remember that. Because he had the purple tie with the stone, the boot. Yeah, I remember that, dude. Because he had somebody else whom I couldn't remember what the other person wore. I think he was a Savage, I think a Flair. There was 3 of them.
I think it was a Flair when he had the red robe with Ric Flair on the back.
Yep. And I want to get that robe. While we talking, I got to get that robe.
What they say is that Toys R Us, something like that?
Yeah.
Or was it Toys R Us?
And Amazon have them. Oh, they probably. I'm pretty sure somebody on eBay got. I got to get that robe. I don't know why, but I got to get that robe.
I don't blame you. I would too.
I definitely got to get.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had to pick on the fans for a minute because some of y'all take it a little bit too far. I got to stay on the fans.
We got to, okay.
No, I got to stay on it.
Okay.
And matter of fact, I wouldn't even call these people fans. I just call people that just go just to go. If you go to a wrestling show, forgive me, I'm wiping the sweat off. If you go to a wrestling show, at least have an idea of what you're going to see. Because I remember going to many shows, and I'm sitting next to people who are asking for people that's not even on the show. I remember this lady who kept asking for John Cena. John Cena wasn't even on that brand. Kept yelling for Cena. Where's Cena? She was so mad. She was about to and I kid you not, she was about to get up and bring her kid because she had bought a lot of kids with her, so it could have been her kids, nieces, nephews, or whatnot. But she was about to go because she wanted to see John Cena. And the kid
he wasn't even there.
He wasn't even there.
Wow.
And the kids she about to make the kids mad, make the babies mad. Because you want to see Cena like he was gonna come all the way up to the nosebleeds and throw his shirt at you.
Man, that's unbelievable, man.
Oh, I gotta do this one. We should have kicked it off with this question.
Uh-huh.
I don't mind this at all. What I'm about to say, but there's a limit to this. You see, if you go to a wrestling show, where the championships belt affiliated with that show or that brand?
Oh, yeah.
Because how many times you seen TNA belts at WWE shows? New Japan
too many.
The TNA shows.
Right. I seen when we was at AEW. I went to AEW when we was in South Haven. I seen a lot of WWE belts too.
Yeah, he dressed like John Cena.
Yeah.
He had the world heavyweight, the big gold belt around his waist. And why does one person bring 3 or 4 belts with him? What's the point of that?
I don't know. They just want to show out, I guess.
I'm like, if that's the case, I could bring every belt I had. I'd be like Brian Christopher back in the day with the wagon.
Right. Just give me a wagon and just drag the belts inside.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story because I got a custom New Orleans Saints belt, right? It was the last game I went to. I believe it was last year. It was a preseason game. They played the Dolphins, right? And when you go in, you get scanned with the metal detector. You know they wasn't about to let me in for that belt.
Why not?
She ain't no better. Because she was like, I don't think I'm gonna let you in. Why? She like, because of that. It's a belt.
Right. She thought you had like a gun or something?
Yeah.
I mean,
I took it over. It's a belt. It goes with, because I had the same jersey, my custom jersey. I had all the gear on. She literally had to call the supervisor. The supervisor tell him, well, what is it? He was like, it's one of them wrestling belts. He was like, oh, let him in.
Yeah. She had to be new. She had to be new.
She had no idea. I mean, everybody was loving it. I said it was out, in Champion Square, had it on. People was loving it, taking pictures with it. I felt a little famous there for a minute.
Right.
I get the hard time. Even the people behind me were like, it's a belt.
Right.
Like, let me in. That guy ain't have a sip or two. I probably would have got kicked out. I probably would have said something.
Probably, I probably would have too.
But yeah, fans, I don't know what's going on. I miss the old school fans.
Yeah, I do too.
I miss between them 80s and them 90s. I love, like you said, when you booed the heels, you cheered the faces, regardless if you like them or not, you still booed them. When Rick Rude got booed, he got booed, but at the end, he was like, man, that's my dude right there. Like Ted, that's my dude. I'm still booing him.
Right, because we grew up watching those guys, we booed those guys. And we cheered the Hogans, and even when Savage turned up babyface, we cheered Savage, like Ricky Steamboats and all those, But then you look back at it, especially with the heels, you look back at it like, wow, he really did his job. That's my guy. At first as a kid, you thinking, man, like Ric Flair, this dude is so arrogant, he's talking about women and cars and he's better than us. But when you look back at it, you're like, Ric Flair was pretty cool,
Yeah, just like we talked about on one of the past podcasts about faction, they talked about Tully Blanchard. Like Shawn Michaels said, Tully Blanchard was that cool bad guy. You loved him, but you wanted to punch him in the face.
Right. Exactly.
I think we had enough picking on the fans. Yeah. And if y'all mad at me, I'm sorry, but some of y'all might go home and think about what I said, because there is a thing called fan etiquette.
Right.
And one more thing, I'm pretty sure this little girl thing grew up, and this was years ago. I remember when this SmackDown show, girl put the sign up, just covering all my face up. I mean, covering the whole ring, can't see nothing. And she holding it up like that person up there and pointing like, I like that sign. And she's blocking it for everybody.
And the camera ain't nowhere near there.
Right, gets upset because somebody told on him, and it wasn't me, by the way. When Told her to put the sign down.
And
she got a nerve to get upset. Little young girl and then the mama want to get mad. I'm like, they got people behind us. I don't want to see. I didn't pay to watch the back of your sign.
Right, like the Martin episode with Miss Jerry in the church.
Yeah, I'm like, excuse me, sister. I don't want to be rude, but can you take that fruit basket off your head? So I going on. Yeah, that she was a Miss Jerry.
Oh wow!
But it wouldn't have been no. She wouldn't have took me down. No, I wouldn't let her get the shot in. So sorry. I'm pretty sure you older now, young lady, whoever you are, but you was wrong.
Exactly.
So now I'm gonna get off the fans. Love you. Right. I'm gonna get off it now. What else could we talk about? That grinds my gears. I gotta talk about the ding dongs. You remember them?
Who that?
Remember the ding dongs and WCW?
Oh, the ding! Oh my God! Yeah, the tag team. Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I'm still trying to figure out what was the purpose of that, and who thought that they was gonna get over? Who thought that?
I guess they was. I don't know. This is just me, but I may be silly for saying this, but I think they were trying to cater to the kids. You know, because think about it. They had a bell at the tag corner, right?
Right.
And every time they tagged each other, they rung that bell.
Didn't they have them on their ankles too, and they kept falling off?
Yeah, they kept falling off. I think there was what Ding and Dong was their tag name. Yeah. That one was Ding and one was Dong. Yeah.
And we still couldn't figure out who was who.
Right.
I'm like, what's this? This the broke version of this? Like if you ordered the conquistadors, the gold suit on Wish, but that's what you get. That's what the ding dong.
Right.
That
we might well stay on. You're right, because we might well stay on bad gimmicks.
Oh no, I promise you that.
Okay. That's crazy. Like PN News. That's another one.
Well, see, I gotta stop you. I like.
You gotta stop me.
I like PN News. Yes, I like.
Oh, come on, Darnell.
Let me tell you why I like PN News.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why I like PN News. For that period, I like him because he kind of fell into that moment where, okay, got this big dude. He couldn't really stay on beat with the rhyme, and I give him that. But he was entertaining to me. He was entertaining. I like when he went on the top rope and did his splash, and before he landed, he hit the music.
All he said was "Yo, baby, yo."
Yep, and he did their little rhymes every now and then. But I like it was just something about him. I liked it. Then he came down with Pepper and Spinderella one time.
Well, yeah, that was cool there. I'll give you that. That was pretty cool. That was cool.
He had a nice little feud with Stunning Steve Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of them ones you was like, me now, I'd be like, damn, that's goofy. But little kid me, he had the nice little feet when he came out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like PN News.
Oh my goodness.
I did. I'm saying it live on the Get Snap podcast. Yes, I like PN News. PN News should have at least been a 6-man tag team champion back at that time. I'm calling it.
Well, I'll tell you this. Since you like PN News, I will send you a link after the podcast because they actually have a shirt on eBay for sale.
I think you sent me that, and I saw it.
And that's the same shirt that they sold in those old WCW magazines.
Yeah, I'm glad.
You know, the top 10. You remember that?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that too. I miss the old WWF magazine. That's what they need to come back with.
Yeah.
I remember I used to have stacks.
Had the little posters, had stacks with the posters in it. Yep. Yeah.
I just keep my little side of my room, maybe through the share ready. My side of the room full of posters. Like to save my little money, or my grandma gave me some money. That's where it used to go. It used to go to PWI magazine or the WWF magazine.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to come back. I mean, they bought ice cream balls back, but the problem with that, first of all, they're not like the originals. They like little squares, and they only put 4 in there. I can eat that.
4? Wow, 4?
They only put 4. They made by Good Humor, if I'm not mistaken. They like the 4 and they square. They like to sound like the Klondike more. They're not like on the sticks like the old WWF ice cream balls.
Yeah, that's crazy. I thought they had like 6 or 8 in there.
I mean, they need to bring those The old WW magazine was cool, had the cool covers.
Yeah.
Like I said, had the cool posters and all that.
Yeah. And oh yeah, Darnell, matter of fact, I do have some old from a friend of mine. He gave me some old WCW magazines
Right.
that I want to show you later after, well, anytime that we hang out or whatever.
Right.
I can bring them to you and I'll let you look at them, man. And also on top of that, I also have programs from the late 80s in the Mid-South Coliseum. Every program from the late 80s. I got those too.
Oh, shoot, that's dope right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you look at them whenever we get a chance. So,
and since we staying on, we gonna stay on bad gimmicks because there was many. There was so many. But what do you think of? Let's see how I'm gonna put this. Now we know the man as Spellbinder, right?
Spellbinder,
It was Fantasio in '95.
Yeah.
Did you like that? Yeah, I thought that because
I like Spellbinder.
Wrestle.
Yeah, I like Spellbinder. He was different, He was a wrestler that did magic, I had no problem with that, Yeah, so, he was cool.
And I brought that up because I was watching, WW. It was just called like every week they'll just do like a month for that year. So they did 1995. Put the day. This was the time when Barry Horowitz beat Skip, and this was the day at Fantasia. Like I said, the magic part of it was cool. I said he pulled the underwear. The one wrestler pulled the underwear off the referee.
Right.
But see, I like the Memphis version of I like Spellbinder.
Like the Spellbinder, right?
I like that. I didn't like when he became when he shocked for a minute.
He was shocked early, like when they went to Channel 30.
Yep.
He was shocked. Yeah. And I don't think he was in Power Pro as well.
Yeah, he was
in Power Pro. Yeah.
He was Power Pro champion.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was Power Pro champion for a minute, but that's when he had the no makeup on. He was talking. That was a big boy. And then remember that one time he had the Scott Steiner tights with the Superman the purple tie.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because
I had no problem with him. Yeah.
And that was a dude I think, should have got a bigger push than he did.
Yeah.
Because they could have really did some things with him. But since we on the gimmicks, if you remember this, I posted it and you probably seen it. Remember when WW had them goofy dudes dressed like the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I remember that.
I want to know who came up with. I want to know who woke up one day and said, you know what, we're not gonna get sued, so let's do this.
Right. I don't know who came up with that. That's crazy.
We're not even gonna call them the Ninja Turtles. We're gonna give them real names and just roll with it. Because I know they was hot in them suits.
Right. I know. I bet they were, man. I bet they were sweating buckets in them suits.
You talk about him in a half shell. I bet your career was in a half shell too.
I'm telling you. And also, here's another gimmick. Now, like I said, he was one of my favorite wrestlers in Memphis too. Probably the best heel I've ever seen in Memphis wrestling. And there's a lot of them. But the number one that I'm gonna talk about right here is the Dirty White Boy.
Oh, no doubt.
Tony Anthony. Now, when they put him as T.L. Harper, that disgusted me. Oh. That really did. That plumber gimmick, and he could have been. Then remember, he was Cletus too with the Godwins.
Yep.
And that I was like, man, they wasting potential on this dude here. Well, the Dirty White Boy was some serious.
Those who have no idea what we talking about, go back to the Mountain. The late Dirty White Boy started out as a tag team, Dirty White Boys. Then he went out on his own. He had the Dirty White Girl with him. Whether he was over as a face and a heel. When he became T.L. Hopper, I was like, see, this when we talked about burials, that was the definition of a burial.
Oh, don't forget also Tracy Smothers when he was Freddie Joe Floyd.
Oh, Jesus. Now, ladies and gentlemen, see, we need to do when you do it on Tracy. Because Tracy been around a long time. Really, him and Steve been teaming up for a long time. Even the days and way before, you saw him in even WCW. They were teaming all the way back to the Alabama days in the early days. So they've been teaming a long time. So he's been a lot, and they pretty much were doing that Southern Boy gimmick way before he hit WCW.
Oh, for him and Steve Armstrong teamed up?
No, he was doing, him and Steve was teaming. But they had the Southern Boy look, but they weren't the Southern Boy until they got to WCW. So they were doing that way before they hit WCW when they was down there in Alabama.
Yeah.
Wrestling. When they was working with Memphis a little bit. Oh, yeah, they did for a long time. But yeah, you talk about Freddie Joe Floyd. He has one of my all-time favorite gimmicks. Shaquille Ali, and I'm gonna stick by that. I told him time, even he had the.
Yeah. What did he say to you when you mentioned Shaquille Ali to him?
I'm gonna tell you how it went, because went over and talked to him. But this was at a USA Championship Wrestling show, so it wasn't that long ago. And I got from him. I said, Tracy. So I gotta tell you something, man. He was like, what you got, bro? I said, do you know you have one of my all-time favorite? No, I said two things. I said, one, I wish I still had. I said, I wish you sold this. I said, remember your thug shirt? I said, you need to start selling those again.
Oh, sell out some other shirts.
Yeah, sell out some other shirts. I said, I had that shirt for a long time. Folks, I can't fit it now, but you need to bring those shirts back. And I said, you have one of my all-time favorite gimmicks of all time. He was like, really? I said, yeah. And I said, Shaquille Ali. And he just started laughing.
Oh, my goodness.
He was like, brother, you just made my night.
Uh-huh. That's good, man. Nice that.
I was like, man. We got, and then we talked about the nation, so we could do a whole show on that nation domination Memphis, and we might just do that and just break them all down.
Right. That'd be fine. Yeah.
Shout out to Reggie B. You know what? Reggie B, since we on that, let's talk about Reggie. Like I said, we freestyle. You see how we just segue into something else? That's how we do on the Get Snap podcast. But Reggie B, now Reggie's one of those dudes, wasn't a great wrestler, couldn't really cut promos, but for some reason he got over. Still trying.
Why he got over?
I need to ask, what is a low budget?
I guess he's talking about the poor people out there that ain't got no money. He was the man. He talked about how he got gold and cars and money and women and all that.
And since we talking about bad gimmicks, which version of him you thought was the worst? I'm gonna say, to me, was the Candy Man.
Oh my goodness, you went far back now.
Got about that. What was it, 91?
No, 90, 91, yeah.
When he wore those candy cane tie, had the top hat and the jacket, and was just giving.
Yeah.
It was a baby face. I think I have a feeling what you'll get. Can I take a shot at it?
Please do.
Was it Master B?
That's one of them. That's one of them.
So I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Master B was one of them.
I'm gonna go King Reginald for the second one.
King Reginald. Actually, that made sense. I give you that because see, Eddie Gilbert did it, right?
Right, when he beat Lawler.
So when he beat Lawler. So anytime anybody beat Lawler, they want to declare themselves king. Now, King Reginald made sense. He was still Reggie B, but he was just wearing a crown. And just put himself King Reginald. He had Queenie with him.
Yep. And I remember that funny custom belt he had. That was so funny.
The unified champion.
Yeah, the unified. That's the unified champion. And yes, and for those that know, yes, Reggie B was unified heavyweight champion.
I think it was on multiple occasions, like 2 or 3 times.
I'm like, that did happen, but Reggie was one of those.
That was one of them.
If you was one of those guys, whether you liked them or not, you couldn't help but laugh.
Right, but it wasn't that one, but there's one more you missing. There's one more.
We talking about Kareem Olajuwon.
There you go. that right there, that name, you know, you take Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Hakeem Olajuwon, and you put it together and try to think that's it. I mean, it's African. Don't get me wrong, but that's I didn't understand that at the time.
He came out
Kareem Olajuwon,
with
yeah.
with the die. And here's the thing about that. Now all them people that had these crazy names, Jay-Z and Wolfie D didn't. Why couldn't you be like Vanilla Shake or something like that? Or Ice Water or something like that?
Because I guess if they would have went to WWE, they probably would have had to be that. But you know, that was, you know, it was, they separated WWE from Memphis. So, you know, when they was in Memphis, they were the leaders. But when they went to WWE, Farouk was the leader.
That was the leader that got beat up the most. And since we own the WWE Memphis thing, who thought it was a good idea to bring Tatanka to Memphis and make him heel? And this was around that Survivor Series time, and he won the unified title. Because Tatanka cannot. I love Tatanka, but he cannot cut a promo. He's not a good heel.
He tried to. I think he did a little bit better with the $1 Million Corporation, which I can understand because, you know, nobody likes DiBiase, right? So they felt like he got manipulated. Tatanka got manipulated. See, so he kind of made it work. But other than that, like you said, he's not a good heel. He's not made to be one. He's a Native American.
And when he came to Memphis, he wasn't even in the $1 Million Corporation yet. And he was a straight up heel, and he was still undefeated in WWE.
Still had the red hair up top. Yeah.
Because they was calling, and they was calling that, and that was the time when USWA, every big event, they had a theme to it.
Right.
And it was called like the end of the trail. I said, I give Tatanka credit. He did look good with the unified title around his waist. Then he lost his Survivor Series style in the Minnesota Coliseum.
That's right.
He lost their belts to the people they beat prior.
I didn't understand that.
But. Do you remember? I got to pick on Jamie Dundee for a minute. I said, good dude. You remember when he came? When we were doing Mid-South All-Star Wrestling?
Yeah.
Do you remember when he came as the convict?
Yeah, I remember that. He came as the convict because I didn't understand that one. I thought he was just going to be the PG-13 James. I guess he wanted to change, from being JC Ice.
Yeah, he came up. I remember when he came up, he was like, I'm Jamie Dundee. He said, we know who you are. We know you. And you remember one match? I think it was for the MAW Championship. It was the cowboy that I used to call him Red Dead Revolver.
I remember.
That match with a chunky roll up.
I thought it was a snap mare he lost. I mean, he beat him.
I said, wait a minute. Is he going to win with that? Yeah, it was a snap mare. Right. I'm like, who went with a snap? I'm like, that must have been one hell of a snap mare. He must have broke his neck or something.
All right. That was crazy. I was like, that's it? That was the match?
And then had the nerve to be short. I'm like, okay, stop the presses. And shout out to KC though. We got to show you. But like I said, he's one of the voices of USA Championship Wrestling. Check them out on YouTube. Check out their page. Definitely check out their shows. They actually got one going on tonight. It started at 7:30. So if you're not there, you're probably gonna be missing out on a good show. Thursday nights and Saturday nights, check it out. And it's next Saturday night, Jerry Lawler's 50th anniversary show. If you're not there, I promise you, on September 27th, you're gonna be crying. You're gonna wish, because I'm predicting there's gonna be more to that than they're promoting. So if you're not there, you need to be there. Said it's limited seating because of social distancing. I know they want to use that whole stadium, because if they use that whole stadium, they'll probably fill it up.
But I understand because of the COVID thing, and they want to keep people on social distance.
They still pushing 1,000 people, so that's still good for that.
Right.
But with all these,
who's gonna be there, no doubt.
I said, what else is going on in the world now? I got a question. You know, there's a lot of wrestlers, you know, they seem to have this mindset that just because they wrestle somewhere, let's just say if they wrestled on the indies a lot. Then when they try to get to a big promotion, they think they should automatically get pushes.
Oh,
That's how a
you
lot of them fall on their face. Instead of going
right.
there humbling themselves, they go in with the mindset of, well, I dominated this promotion, I dominated this city state, and then you go up and say you hit like NXT or AEW.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you got to be humble because paying dues, even though you've been doing that, you still have to pay dues. You still have to be humble. You still have to work hard, regardless.
I mean, they have veterans to this day still follow that moniker. I mean, yeah. I use the Rock and Roll Express for an example. Now they've been around what, a good 35, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
They still do the little small indie shows. They go out and wrestle, have a good time. You think they care if they win or lose?
Nope.
And that's my point. And it's good to have guys like them to try to school these new kids on the block. You got to check your attitude at the door sometimes. Now, me personally, we never was like wrestlers all the time. We took our bumps here and there. We managed, we commentated, we did all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I know you wouldn't do, I wouldn't do, walking out and say, yeah, we've been doing this over 10 years. I know what I'm doing. You don't have to work. No, we wouldn't do that. Because there's protocol.
Right, protocol. And every wrestling promotion is different.
I mean, you can't walk in trying to tell a promoter, an owner, what you gonna do.
I never had done that.
And that's what when they talk about the word shooting. And speaking of that, do you remember this? You remember the showstopper incident?
Oh, how can I forget?
Now, for those who don't know, I just used the word shooting. There was a guy that we both know. His name was James Cantrell. We called him the showstopper. The big heavyset guy. Wasn't the the greatest wrestler, and I'm gonna say kind of wasn't real popular with the boys. But they
passed on.
They worked with him. Yeah, he sure did pass on. Because I remember he was a good guy, and for a period he had turned heel. And I told him, because he wanted me to manage him, but I said, if you do this, you're gonna be the show, kind of like the Big Show, the black version of him, and you're not gonna smile. You're just gonna beat people up. I said, I think if you listen to what I'm trying to get you to do, it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple of times he did some foul crap.
Oh yeah.
First time, and for the record, I'm not down in the dead. I just want y'all to understand where I'm going with this. The time when he stole the ring when we was doing the TAJJ tapings.
Mm-hmm.
Took the ring and he brought it to a high school for a show that he was putting on. We didn't know that ring was stolen.
No.
And we looking for it. Because we saw the ring, but like I said, we didn't know. We thought he had permission. So we didn't think nothing of it until the next day. We went to do a tape and there's no ring.
Right, because Adam Dunn was trying to figure out what happened to it. Yeah.
How he got
we didn't even know.
And then we talking about the shooting situation, not necessarily with a gun, but
That's what we say in the wrestling business, shooting.
Yeah, this guy went around and help me out if I'm telling this wrong. I guess he was saying that he can get a lot of tickets sold for a show. I believe it was an MAW show, if I'm not mistaken, at the New Daisy.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying I can this building packed, It didn't happen. So he was in a match, and to make a long story short, everybody in that match just shot on him. They pretty much could have killed him if they would have kept going. They went straight hardcore. They was throwing straight real shots. They could have killed him that night.
Yeah, he had suffered a concussion. I could tell because he didn't know where he was at. And then they beat him down bad.
And then it was recorded. I mean that mean, I understand, people do certain things, but the people that did it, which I'm not gonna name names, but the people that did it, that was kind of foul. It was number one, it was unnecessary. If you're gonna handle, something like that, you need to handle that behind the curtain, not in front of people. Because you have to be blind and crazy to not know that was real.
And I kind of understood why, because it's about respecting the wrestling business, which I get, because those guys in there was trained old school. That's how you do it old school. I understand it. Some people may not like it, some people do, but in their minds, it was their right. It was the right thing to do because of respect for the business. You don't lie to the boys. You don't tell them something and then don't deliver on it. That could get you heat real quick. You can't make false promises, especially with veterans like that.
And that was you mentioned that word heat too. It was way past heat.
It was volcano.
If he was on fire, we couldn't put him out.
It's all to them. It's about respect for the business and about saying what doing what you're gonna say you're gonna do. That's all. That's the old school way. Some people may not like it, but that's what it is.
Like we said back then when I saw, it did disgust me because, like I said, it could have been handled different. Because, like I said, that could have killed him if they would have kept going. Because they went. They were throwing, like I said, real shots. They were throwing weapons on him.
Right.
It could have been a point that could have went bad real easy.
Yeah.
There's some things you just gotta know. Was that a good idea? Because, like I said, unfortunately, he did pass away.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was for that reason, which I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
But like I said, some things you got to look at the big picture at the end of the day, and look in the mirror and ask yourself, what if that was me? Because I don't think they knew what if his parents were there? I don't know if his parents were there or relatives.
No.
Like I said, they could have easily, like I said, all they had to do was get up, go outside, because Memphis police was right outside. That could have went bad. So the reason I brought that up is because, like I said, like you said it, they were taught old school, and there is a protocol, and you have to respect the business. If you couldn't do it, just say you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Just say, you know what, I tried, it didn't work. Here's the stuff back. You don't want to book me, that's fine.
Right. That's all he had to do. And they would have respected him. But since he didn't do that, that's what happened.
And then
it's all about respect.
And then with the track record that he had, that really didn't make it worse. So it's like one of those things, like when you stand in a room, like if somebody call you in a room, you know what's about to happen. So in his mind, I think he knew that was coming.
Yeah, he knew it was just fate,
Because you tell what he didn't do? He didn't fight back neither.
Yeah, because he knew it. He knew it was coming. There was no reason to. Because it would have got a lot worse if he did.
And I said he didn't throw a punch. He took all those shots. So
he got kicked in his head and everything else, man. The kitchen sink was thrown in that, no doubt.
See, literally. So like I said, you gotta know. Ross said all the time, you gotta know your role. He wasn't saying that, because it sounds cool. There's a lot of meaning behind that.
There's a pecking order. There's a pecking order. There's a camaraderie.
And I even fell into that. If you remember the wrestler Jeremy Blaze.
Yeah, I remember.
His mom and him and his mom had a promotion out there in Millington, Tennessee, and me and you went.
Yeah,
me and you went to that, and I had some wrestling belts around my waist. Had one around my waist, one across my shoulder. She sent out 2 veteran wrestlers to check me on that. Told me that's enough. Told me I was disrespecting veterans.
I didn't understand that.
And every
That's
time
kind
she told me,
of
when she came to the TJJ table, she reminded me of that. Because the two dudes came up to me, yeah, they were, I could say, their version of the Hollywood Blondes back then. I think they were more like an talent back in the day. We literally checked on it, and she told me that she was gonna have them literally take my belts from me, which that wasn't gonna fly. So that was a little too much for her to say. I wasn't gonna let that happen. But again, it's like every company is different. Everybody's different. Everybody had their way of doing things. Like I said, I didn't see the issue with me doing it. I mean, WWE don't stop you and say, "Hey, man, you can't wear that belt in here."
I didn't understand that either.
I mean, it lived with a big deal because now that I remember, we didn't even go inside.
It was outside. Yeah, I remember that.
It was at the church, and we was in the parking lot, and we were just lollygagging. And that happened. So, like I said, to me, it wasn't a big deal. I just played the game. Now, when they talked about taking something from me, that's a line. That's a line even I wouldn't allow.
Yeah.
Especially when you young and you trying to get your name out there, you got to do some homework. You may not like what a veteran tell you, but
that's what it is.
Now, on the flip side of that, if a veteran tells you, think about who that veteran is, kind of get an idea of how his reputation is before you jump, because some veterans are not the best to give advice. Because number one, they're not going to take advice. Because a lot of them are out to burn these young guys. They say they want to train them, take their money, they don't do well.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. If you're going to get trained, do your homework on that person. Find out more about the school when you go there. Don't just take the name and run with it. Because if you do that, you're probably going to fail right off the bat.
Right.
And I know probably people listen to this and they're probably like, well, damn, I probably kind of killed the move with the previous topic or the previous thing we was talking about the James Cantrell thing, but that's what happened. That's what happened.
That's the way it was, yeah.
The independent circuit, independent wrestling is a whole lot different than what you see on TV. And I say that because wrestlers on the independent scene, they taking down ring.
Yeah.
All these other companies got to proof for that. They got to.
Yeah, we used to do that.
They got to go out after they wrestle, go to their gimmick table and sell their stuff. They got people to do that for them.
Right. I remember when we started, we used to after the show, we used to sometimes even before the show, we used to set the ring up and tear it down. You know.
Yep. And depending on where we was at, we used to pass out flyers. We was our own street team.
Right. We was paying dues. That's what you do. That's called paying dues.
And on that note, I was always told this. You said, if you're gonna pay dues, you need to pay attention as well.
Exactly.
Don't think because you're doing something. Don't think because you're doing something that's gonna get you where you want to go. You still got to put that work in. And like I said, I'm not a wrestler. I've took my bumps here and there, but I never, other than that little one incident with me and you had in that neighborhood. But I said we never went out there and had matches after matches after matches. That's not us. But yeah, we still took notes and was like, okay, that's something we shouldn't do. That's something we shouldn't do. And like I said, we've had a lot of veterans that we had the opportunity to meet. Some are not even here anymore. Prime example, when we was in TJJ Championship Wrestling, when Moondog Spot came there.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Moondog, I actually refereed Moondog's match against James Cantrell. And he was telling me, he said, you know my gimmick, right? I said, yes, sir. He said, every time you look at me, I'm running. He said, that's right. He said, very good. And so he said, I'm going to beat you down. I'm going to hit you with the kendo stick or whatever. So I just went along with what Moondog told me,
And keep in mind, that was a legend. He probably
He's a legend.
we talked about on the last show. We talked about straight badasses. That was one of them. Because I was there.
Right.
I was there in the Mid-South Coliseum. Matter of fact, I was on the floor. You wasn't with me that night when he died.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because it was like I believe it was like in a tag team battle royal. And I remember I was on the floor right by the aisle.
Yeah.
And he was sitting in the corner, but he wasn't moving.
Yeah.
And they just kind of they kept the match going. They kind of just rolled him out the ring. And a few people kind of caught on to it, and a few people didn't. But and it wasn't even maybe an hour after that. He passed away.
Yeah, about an hour later. Yeah.
I mean that was a moment because you, like I said, you're sitting out there and you looking and you like, is he okay? I mean, he literally was not moving. Nobody wasn't touching him neither, but he wasn't moving. Like he was doing a thing and boom, just like the lights just went out.
He just slumped in the corner.
And that's one of those things when people say, he died doing what he loved. I can agree with that in his case.
He loved the wrestling business.
And that's why the Moondogs are still going. I mean, there's more variations of them, like right now, but they're still going. They still have the same looks, and all of them still pretty much look alike.
Right. I still remember the little promo they did. They were talking about they were from Louisiana, had to was it with carries a bone and got them fire red eyes.
Yep.
They said Cajun folks call them Moondogs, and they ruled the swamps at night. I remember that.
You talk about a team that will beat the brakes off you.
Yeah.
And they were. I think if they were in their prime doing the hardcore division.
Oh my goodness!
They'd be
there's no contest. No contest.
And when they were the USWA Tag Team Champions, they were dominant.
Yeah. I still remember the time where they was in.
They were baby faces. When they was doing the global thing, they did the storyline where their manager signed the global but took the USWA tag titles with them.
Wasn't it Richard Lee?
Richard Lee.
They tagged Richard Lee? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. He used to blow that whistle every time on Memphis TV. When you hear that whistle blowing, you know the Moondogs was coming. Spike, Cujo, it didn't matter. Fifi, the big black dog.
And yes, and there was a black version for those who don't know. Go look it up.
Yeah, it was one black Moondog. He was named the Big Black Dog.
And he literally was that too. And he was the biggest. If I remember, he was the biggest out of all of them.
Yep. They had a female one, Moondog Fifi.
And she was crazy.
She went against Miss Texas a lot.
Yep. And speaking of Miss Texas, I remember when she lost her hair in '91. Yeah. When her and Tom Pritchard, I believe, fought the dirty white boy and the dirty white girl, and whoever got pink got their head shaved.
Right.
She came to Memphis TV, no wig, no nothing, bald head, and took it like a champ. Because people gotta understand, back in the day, Miss Texas Jacqueline, Queen Moesha, whatever you want to call them, she was one of the pioneers back then, especially because there weren't too many female wrestlers to come through Memphis. But she was.
Because you had your I think
Sherry
she came one time.
But she was more in the manager state by the time she came. Before.
Right. Oh yeah, don't forget the incident where Jerry Lawler slapped Miss Texas on TV.
Now let me say this on that. You thought Tully Blanchard slapped Baby. Okay, let me back that up. Which slap was worse? Tully Blanchard slapping Baby Doll, or when Lawler slapped Miss Texas?
I think the one where Lawler slapped Miss Texas, because when he hit her, she went off the camera.
Yeah, she
I didn't see her face after that.
In wrestling terms.
Yeah. Right. And Tully Blanchard, he slapped Baby Doll too, but it wasn't like you can literally hear the hit,
Well, and then it was like one of them situations
went
like
off the screen.
It was like, okay, when I hit you, Dusty, you come out. I mean, he like he good
Dusty
time
came
until
out
he
there
did something. Dusty, came out.
Man, they hate each other's guts back then, boy.
Dude, now, like I said, one of the ones we talked about, if I could sit back and watch a robbery, that's the robbery I would definitely talk about. But we are coming to the end. Man, that time went quick. Yep. And you see
man, man. We already almost 5 minutes.
And you see what happened when you freestyle and you just talking. See, this is like a round table. And I might just start doing that, just because I can get at least 5 more people on this show, and we all just start talking. We can go back to the old how used to do on WWE Network with the Legends of Wrestling.
Right. And speaking of round tables, did you see the one where they had the nation at the round table?
Yes.
It was Ron Simmons, Mark Henry, and the Godfather. You saw the one where The Rock gave him those the Rolex watches. That picture again, and then Ron said again.
I thought that was hilarious. Now, he should have known.
They all laughed about it.
That definitely was funny. But yeah, I definitely would like to do some round table discussions, because I know we know a lot of people, currently wrestling that's probably retired, but got a lot on their mind, got a lot of knowledge that they can share on this podcast. So, like I said, I got a couple people I do want to bring on that we both know real well. A couple who have to do it, just a timing thing, because we all got lives, we got work, we got sponsors, we got babies to take care of. So that's why, people say why we do it at all these awkward times. That's pretty much the reason why. But we get it out there. We glad y'all enjoying it. We glad that whichever platform you listening to us on, greatly appreciate it. We post this on Facebook, on my personal page, on the Snap Custom Facebook page. We put it on the Elite Marks Fantasy Wrestling pages. Shout out to those guys. We're going to get it out there. Like I say, soon, when I get time, I will have the Get Snap podcast on Facebook page for every episode, even from the first one. When we talked about the WWE Hall of Fame to this one, and future will also be on there. So definitely get ready for that. We're going to do what we can to get this podcast out there.
It's gonna be this Get Snap podcast, y'all. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be big. Everybody's gonna tune in to listen, because we're two wrestling fans that love wrestling. We grew up watching it, and to share it with y'all is just
it's about wrestling for the wrestling fan. And even if you not a big fan of wrestling, I promise you, when you hear people talking about it, and there's a lot of things you're like, man, did I really miss that? It's gonna make you go back on YouTube, make you get the WWE Network and go back and be like, you know what, they talked about that. I remember that. And then all of a sudden, boom, you will become a wrestling fan. But I tell, since we kind of picked on wrestling fans, we're having fun doing it. But I want to say this to all the every wrestling person. Always go look at the old school stuff. Go look at it. Go and see why we are where we are right now. Because back then, a lot of people didn't have music. We didn't have Titantrons. We didn't have the Pyros. We didn't have what we have today. Go back to those 70s, 80s, 90s days. You just came to the ring. No music. When almost every heel had a manager. Good ones at that. And look at rivalries. Because you don't see the rivalries today that you did back then. Some people disagree with me on that, but the rivalries back then, they're not the same.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of those legends in those storylines have passed on, but their name is still going as if they were here. So, especially, for example, just like Dusty Rhodes, people still talking about Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes been gone for years. His children are still going strong, carrying on that name, but go back and look at classic Dusty Rhodes. Go back to those days with Dick Murdoch when he was the Texas Outlaws. Yes, and for those who know, yes, Dusty
You talk
Rose was a
about
heel at
vicious
one
tag
time.
team.
Dirty Dusty Rose. Go back and look at it. So what you saw,
Mhm.
with all those promos,
That's right.
Getting the crowd over, go back to how it started. And you'll definitely see what we're talking about. But that's all we got for tonight.
Right.
We are done.
That's
But see,
it.
that's the
We're
good thing.
done.
If we stop now, that means we got a lot more show coming in
All
the
right.
future. So definitely tune in. But for now, we're about to roll out of here. I want everybody to be safe this weekend. Get ready for tomorrow. Watch a full day of football. Might even come on just talk about that just because. But for now, we about to shut these doors. Darnell Sparrow, Antoine Smooth. This has been the Get Snap Podcast. And as always, Get Snap. We out of here.
Peace.